Ladies and gentlemen, you can't say that Fox News existed the past 4 years to keep Trump in office. That really wasn't the case. In fact, I could name, 3 or 4 Fox News journalists who went after Trump all the time. You can't say the same at CNN or MSNBC, or even, you really can't say, was there anyone in any other network that defended President Trump or went after Biden? You can't say that there was a Chris Wallace or a couple other Fox journalists at CNN or MSNBC. Those networks are designed or exist simply to take down President Trump. Now we have just confirmation of something we already knew. So the playing field was never leveled. Okay, it was never a level, or it was never level. It was never a level playing field. CNN staffer boasts to Prject Veritas that network peddled anti-Trump propaganda. This is the New York Post. A CNN staffer admitted in a secretly recorded video that his network produced propaganda to oust former President Donald Trump during the presidential election in 2020 and bragged about their success. Well, they were successful. They were very successful. They had millions upon millions of people, even though they don't do as well oftentimes as YouTube channels. I'm not talking about my own channel, but there are channels that actually get a number of channels that get a number of conservative channels or channels that that are open or support President Trump. They get a lot more a greater viewership than CNN every evening, but you still have millions upon millions of people. You had millions upon millions of people staring into the most apoplectic, indignant, disgruntled, frustrated, morally superior, wonderful, liberal Democratic Party journalists. And everything was Trump's fault. There was never any nuance. CNN, I don't think, ever did a positive story on Trump. Did this ever happen in 2000 or 2004 or even 2008 or even 2012? Could you imagine if CNN, by the way, helped Bush's administration, Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld, helped them implement their foreign policy? You did not have the same media even 5-6 years ago. Media is now squarely in one camp, one political party. They are going to bat for one political side. You have everyone from Jimmy Kimmel to CNN to the Washington Post. When you get historians saying, well, Trump's, generally these are liberal Democrats anyway who happen to be historians, or they're historians who happen to be liberal Democrats. But when you get certain historians and they're interviewed by a liberal publication, it could be Vox, it could be any liberal publication, and the historian will say, Trump's administration was unique in its deception. Unique. They're assuming that intelligence agencies were completely objective and unbiased. They're assuming that media was objective and unbiased. They're not taking into account that President Trump had to deal with things from everything from a Steele dossier to, by one estimate, one study said 92% negative media coverage. No presidency. There's really no presidency that can survive 92% negative media coverage. And what CNN was able to do is get people who weren't really interested in politics, getting them really amped up and energized against one person. You can't say Fox because the rebuttal, the instinctive rebuttal is, well, Fox does the same thing. No, they don't. Go watch Fox News. If you're on the left watching this right now, and you might say, well, Fox does the same thing. No, they don't. They're similar, but you'll have Sean Hannity, you'll have Tucker Carlson, but you won't have, you will have at least 2 to 3 to 4 journalists who are against Trump. That's not the case. You have everyone is for Biden and MSNBC or CNN, everybody. But hit subscribe to this channel right this second. Get this segment viral. So the playing field is completely geared towards one direction. But here, a CNN staffer admitted in a secretly recorded video that his network produced propaganda to oust former President Donald Trump. A technical director at the cable network was filmed by Prject Veritas during a series of fake Tinder dates as he explained how they got Trump out of office. Quote, "Look what we did. We, CNN, got Trump out. I am 100% going to say it, and I 100% believe that if it wasn't for CNN, I don't know that Trump would have got voted out." I agree with that, actually. I wouldn't say just CNN. Wanted to be, and he came to work at CNN because he wanted to be part of that. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that CNN in particular, MSNBC, I don't know if they might have more viewers. I'm not exactly sure, but CNN at least has been there for a long time. Might have the allure of objectivity simply because of its brand name. Because CNN is usually in every airport, in places that are just, want the news, quote unquote, they'll have CNN. And it's like, they never used to, well, they picked a side, but they were always, they actually were more conservative in the early 2000s. But a lot more. But they'll gravitate towards a political side, but never like this. So our focus was to get Trump out of office, right? Without saying it, that's what it was. And then this person explained that they over-dramatized Trump's health issues by bringing in medical experts. Wow. Trump's hand was shaking or whatever, I think. We brought in so many medical people to tell a story that was all speculation, that he was neurologically damaged and he was losing it, he's unfit, whatever. We were creating a story there that we didn't know anything about. I think it's propaganda. Well, there you go. And I know people who truly believe, I know people who think that they're enlightened because they read the New York Times and they just happen to also watch CNN. And when you say, hey, you're just regurgitating CNN nonsense, they say, well, I don't really like CNN. It's like everything against Trump was bolstered on CNN and MSNBC. Like if there was a story in the Washington Post and New York Times, perhaps about Trump's taxes, they've had his taxes for over a month now. They found nothing. Okay, that's yet another catastrophe, failed disaster of a propaganda spin. They had the Mueller probe for 2 years. They obsessed over that every day. They found nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nobody was indicted on working with Russian intelligence officials. He never worked with Russia or Putin. And the only people who were indicted were caught, quote unquote, really entrapped for allegedly lying to corrupt officials. Okay, but you have these lies told, and then they say, well, Trump's lied the most. He hasn't lied the most. You can look at other presidents. They've lied a lot more, but they've had favorable media coverage. They were never held to task, and there was never a running tally of all their lies or puffery or exaggeration or misinformation or misleading statements. So if they don't get Trump on an outright lie, they'll say misleading statement, exaggeration, falsehood, missing context. That's every president. You could, if anything, the scrutiny that Trump received, probably if you gave other presidents, President Obama or Bush, Cheney and Rumsfeld, you gave them the same scrutiny and the same nonstop, never-ending, investigations. If anything, Trump was telling far more of the truth. He never worked with Russia. That was true. Everyone saying that he did was lying or being deceived to tell a lie. So it's like he never worked with Putin. That never ever happened. Okay? He doesn't have some grandiose criminal plot within his taxes. That also never happened. The United States, you know how we know? Not just because they've had his taxes for one month and they found nothing. The United States government, the IRS, had its taxes for years and years and years. Oh, what, 5, 6 years? And they found nothing. So, like, you're not going to get, like, the Democrats said, look, the Clintons have been investigated their whole lives. We're going to turn the animus or the suspicion against the Clintons and against most other Democrats into against Trump. So now you have a whole bunch of really morally superior liberals who think that Trump is capable of anything because they're capable of anything, because they got away, because they have Comey and Strzok and McCabe, and they think, and Clapper and Brennan, they think that these people are completely objective. They don't realize that you have intelligence operatives, you have CNN, you have MSNBC, the Washington Post, the New York Times on one side of the political divide, and so they think that the bias, the extreme bias, reflects reality, and that they think that they're on the side of reality. That's not the case. Anybody who says, my goodness, the level of deceit from this presidency is ignoring reality. The reality is that whereas Trump lied or Trump exaggerated things, so did President Obama, more so, and we can go through the list, drinking Flint water, saying it's safe to drink. I mean, that's deception right there. His lead up to Libya, the failed NATO intervention that caused the country to become a failed state. You have so many examples. You could just, there's endless examples, especially with Bush. But there was no running tally. There was no obsession. The White House press corps was docile, basically worked for the administration. Everything was different with Trump. And Trump was the despot and authoritarian, then they're the ones who utilized intelligence agencies to go after political rivals or to get us into never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. This is huge from Prject Verita.